Hey, fourth graders. It's time for Read Aloud with me, Mrs. Ramsey. Today's hat day, but tomorrow you'll be seeing this, so it won't be hat day anymore. But here's my favorite hat, Miami, where Peter goes to school. So, anyway, we're starting with chapter 19 today. And when we left off last time, Jake had almost been run over by a bison. However, he was able to jump the fence with the help of Tony, who's a new character in the story that Davis is finding really handsome. So Charlie is kind of annoyed by that, and we'll see what happens now that we begin with chapter 19. So here we go. The quote for this chapter is, "The grooming habits of certain birds serve for far more than just hygienic purposes." Tiberius Shaw, Ph.D. Davis has always been my guide. She's always decoded stuff for me. Mysteries like why Ashley Gallagher pushed me down into the mud at recess back in fourth grade. You can't just corner her all the time and talk her ear off about birds, Charlie. Why counting is bad. You think it calms you, but Charlie, it's imprisoning you because you cannot do it. What visual cues mean in the mirror. Frowny face equals get the heck out of my room, dork. Charlie, Davis used to tell me, back when she mainly acted like she still loved me, you were a great kid. You're thoughtful and kind, and you care about people. And if people don't get you, if they don't want to take the time to look beyond the little quirks that you make special, well, then that's their loss. And don't you worry about me, because I love you and you always have me. But I don't think I have Davis anymore. Instead, she always gets just as frustrated with me as Ashley Gallagher used to, like Graham sometimes does. Because here we are at the old faithful lodge, and this is what she says. "Charlie, come out of that bathroom right now." Davis is knocking on the door hard and yelling like she's really angry. "When are you going to stop this ridiculous habit? You're the only one who didn't get to see the geyser, and now it's too late. We have to go." Soap rinse 1, soap rinse 2, soap rinse 3, soap rinse 4, soap rinse 5, soap rinse 6, soap rinse 7, soap rinse 8, soap rinse 9, soap rinse 10, soap rinse 11, soap rinse. Sometimes it takes a longer chain of washes to get calm. "The geyser will blow again, right?" I ask. "Yeah, in half an hour," says Davis. "So you have to choose, Old Faithful or your old swan, because we can't do both before it gets dark." Well, of course we have to go look for Dad's trumpeter. Who cares about a bunch of spraying water? We head to Yellowstone Lake. In Tony's car, Joel, who hates to read, is actually quoting the Old Faithful brochure, his dirty finger pointing at each word. "What's a hydrothermal feature?" It says that half of the whole world's hydrothermal features are in Yellowstone, he reads, like about 10,000. "They're things like hot springs," says Tony, "and mud pots or paint pots, which are big puddles of bubbling, boiling mud, sometimes in really bright colors due to the minerals and stuff in them. And there are stream vents and, of course, the geysers." Joel says, "Cool, let's go see." "Trumpeters," I say. "Okay, Charlie," says Davis. "Sheesh, we're going." The sun is starting to dip behind the trees, and the surface of the lake water twinkles silver black as I crane my head out the window, hoping for a good view. "Can't stay here long," Tony says, pulling up onto the grass to park. "My brother will be wondering where I took his car." "Oh, no worries," says Davis. "Our friend's probably wondering the same." "Our babysitter, she means," Joel adds, and Davis coughs. "Well, she's more like a family friend," Davis says quickly. "She's this weird person who we met in my dad's old hospital." As Tony parks, I take off out of the car, running toward the lake. I can see small dabs of white, a far distance out on the darkening water. They're probably swans. Yes, definitely swans. But at this distance, I can't tell if I'm seeing trumpeters or mute swans. Mutes have orange beaks, while trumpeters have black. Mutes are a total nuisance intruder bird, destroying local habitats, while poor, beautiful native trumpeters have to struggle really hard to survive. I hate to admit it, but as I stare harder at this group, it seems to me that their beaks look orange. My heart sinks. It's just a group of mutes, 3 or 4 of them, gliding together near some tall lake weeds. But wait, farther down the lake, another swan emerges from an underwater dive. It holds its long neck up high and proud, and I see the lump as it swallows something. It skims along, and I realize it is bigger, slightly, than the mutes. And it has, does it? Maybe it has a black beak. I just can't tell in this light. It could be either. If only I had binoculars. The bigger swan swims toward the small group of mutes, one of which flaps its giant white wings in warning, ruffling the water. They are not allowing this big guy to join them. It stays alone by itself, serene, like it knows very well that it doesn't belong with the others. Is this because it's a trumpeter? I squeeze my eyelids with my fingers, anything to see better. The sun is almost down. It's useless. The car horn honks behind me. Did you see them, Charlie? Davis yells. Did you find them? I don't have the heart to yell anything back to her. I just don't know. There's no way to tell. Someday bird list. Bald eagle, great horned owl, check. Trumpeter swan, undecided, half check. Sandhill crane, turkey vulture, emu, not unless we go to Virginia by way of Australia. Passenger pigeon, as if. Carolina parakeet, dad being ridiculous. Chapter 20. Here's our quote from Tiberius Shaw, PhD. Birds are really quite cooperative among members of their own family. But as with any generalization, there are always exceptions. It's night now, and I lift the window curtain in the camper to peer out at the group around the campfire outside. The twins, Ludmilla, Davis, and Tony. They're having a grand old time roasting hot dogs in the dark around the cheery blaze. Dog is here in the dark in my bunk with me. He sniffs the air hungrily. How can you stand the smell of hot dogs? I ask Dog. Or the stinky smell of that campfire. Trust me, it's not worth it. He licks the back of his hand. Or my hand. This dog may have 3 legs, bulgy eyes, and funny teeth. He may snore, and his breath may stink like fish, but I totally love him. He's my friend. He's great company, and he loves me back. I really think he does. The twins are too wild and rambunctious for his unsteady legs. They don't pay him enough attention. And Davis also ignores him, so it's become him and me. I'm the only one who feeds and walks him. And when I hold him and pet him, somehow I forget all about the fact that my hands are itching and throbbing to be washed. Joel and Jake haven't even bothered to give you a name yet, I tell poor Dog. That's not right. He sneezes and clear, watery dog snot shoots out of his nostrils and onto my blanket. But that's no problem. I just trade blankets with Davis. What should we call you? The dog looks up at me with his warm, slightly bulgy brown eyes. He licks the back of my hand. His whiskers tickle. Whiskers? He sneezes again and shakes his snout. No, not Whiskers. That's more of a cat name anyway. How about Spot? He has a bunch of brown and black patches like a little cow dog, but he doesn't look too happy about Spot. How about Cow Dog? Well, that's just dumb. The dog sniffs around my blankets, then nudges Tiberius Shaw's green journal with his wet nose. He licks at that gold embossed feather. He tries to nibble on the corner of the cover. You like that book? I ask him. I open up to the photo card of Tiberius Shaw, staring out at us with his dark eyes and wiry white eyebrows. Come to think of it, this dog has almost the same looking wiry white eyebrows. Ruff, says the dog, sniffing at the photo of Tiberius Shaw, Ph.D. Ruff, ruff! He's getting all excited for some reason. You like that guy? I ask. That's Tiberius. Then I know what the dog's name should be. Come on, Tiberius, I tell him, clipping on his leash. Let's go outside and tell everyone what your name is, and maybe get you a small piece of hot dog. Much later, after everyone's asleep, I click on my small flashlight and open Dr. Tiberius Shaw's green journal, flipping to see if maybe he wrote something about trumpeter swans. Instead, I come across a hand-done sketch. I bet Tiberius Shaw drew it himself. Beneath the picture, it says, "Swallows on the move in the evening air. These birds live and die for the flock, remaining within touching distance of each other for their entire lives. Deriving meaning from the flock from each other, these birds move as one through the world." And it makes me wonder, are we moving together as one through the world? Are we a flock? Dad had said to me all those months ago, "Are you a flocker or a loner, Charlie?" I used to think my family was my flock, but really, not anymore. All they do is yell at me because I slow them down, because I'm always complaining, because I'm always washing. Well, so what? I click off the flashlight. I lie back on the musty blue mattress and Tiberius snuggles into me. I pat him gently straight down his old spotted back, and he looks at me with pure love. I know it's pure love. I can read the visual cue in his bulgy brown dog eyes. Tiberius is my flock. Good boy, I whisper. Good boy. He sighs and squirms, and soon, despite the awful mattress and his hideous fish breath, I miraculously manage to fall asleep. The next thing I know, birds are tweeting and the sun's beaming in. Everyone's up already, clunking around, packing stuff. Ludmilla is nagging the twins to help her stash the folding chairs and secure stuff in the little kitchen so it doesn't roll and clank around once she starts driving. Almost time to leave Yellowstone. I stumble down the steps with Tiberius and around the corner of the camper to find a spot for both of us to pee. There's that guy Tony and Davis standing way too close to each other. Get out of here, Davis says. Come on, Tiberius, I say, and I glare at them. Let's leave these obnoxious people alone. I walk Tiberius on his leash toward a patch of trees, and we do our business. I sit on a log, looking in through the leafy branches. Tiberius sniffs around. I pick a maple leaf and twirl it around in my fingers while he meanders. Millions of these leaves all around. So many you don't even really think of them as leaves until you pick one single leaf and it comes into focus. It's got veins running through it, and it's soft with a dark green summer color. And it's got this amazing symmetrical beauty. And then you think, wow. I crouch down and spread the leaf over my knee, feeling its rough backside. I don't want to think about anything right now except this leaf. Can't I just stay here and be a hermit and live in a hut in the woods? A very hygienic hut, hidden so no one can find me. Tiberius whines as if he knows my thoughts and doesn't agree with them one bit. Suddenly, by my left ear, away from where he's sniffing and turning in circles, I hear a loud screech. like scraping metal. I peer over at a big oak tree, and I have to let my eyes adjust before I see it. There's a little screech owl no bigger than my hand, fluffing up its feathers, peeping out of a hole in the trunk. It looks at me from its round black doorway, and I look at it, and it blinks its yellow eyes once, twice. Tiberius barks, and in a flash, the owl's gone, back inside that snug hole. My heart is pounding. How can such a little, cute bird make such a huge, obnoxious noise? Amazing. Why'd you scare it, Tiberius? I scold him, but he doesn't care. Well, at least now I can add a screech owl onto the someday birds list as a bonus prize for Dad. I like that screech owl. I like to think of it living here in the woods, hidden away, all snug in its tree trunk among the big, soft maple leaves, all alone, the whole world leaving it alone and in peace. I'm starting to deeply hate riding in that crowded camper. I wish I had a hole. Chapter 21. There's a good picture here for you, and it says fossil and firebirds. And then the picture itself says prairie chicken. The gears of old Bessie grind and growl as Davis reads from yet another of her thick stack of brochures. She took pretty much every free pamphlet and map the Yellowstone Area Visitor Center had to offer while we were out with Tony yesterday, and they're in a stack on our little wood table. She's got us cutting northeast through Montana now, just because she's always wanted to see it. Plus, she wrote a history paper on Little Bighorn, so apparently now we have to go there. Davis puts on a loud TV announcer's voice and leans forward. The historic Beartooth Highway has been called the most beautiful drive in America. It was first traveled by Civil War General Sheridan in 1882. Really? Something tells me that Native Americans probably traveled it before that old general did, says Ludmilla. We are powering through switchbacks to make it up and over a super steep mountain pass. Switchbacks are when you change directions with 180-degree turns. It feels like you're going to roll right out of your seat. Switchback is a good word to describe what it's like, too, when you think your life is going one way, peaceful summer at home, but instead it slides off in a whole other crazy direction. Crazy drive across country. One way, Dad working from home and healthy, and then a whole other way, Dad going to Afghanistan and getting hurt. Back and forth, up and up, this way and that, lurch and slosh. Tiberius whimpers in his sleep, in his blanket nest between the seats. A few feet from my window, the road drops off into nothing but air. A rocky abyss waits below. It's terrifying. We pass snow. Snow! On a cliff ledge that juts out into sky. I close my eyes to keep from fainting. Charlie, says Ludmilla, sneaking a glance at me, why don't you close that book if you feel so sick? I wasn't reading it, I say, gulping air. I was just looking at this picture of the Archaeopteryx. The what? Archaeopteryx, the very first bird that evolved from dinosaurs. I looked down at the yellowed photo that Shaw had taped into the book, a very delicate skeleton of a tiny pterodactyl-like thing, wings akimbo pressed into rock. One day, this little guy fell back into the mud, and 100 million years later, people found him. They even found a preserved feather. We swerve around another cliff face. The rock's so close I could put my arm out old Bessie's window and touch it. The brochures say Montana has over 100 fossil sites, and some of the oldest rocks on Earth. They've found lots of dinosaurs, even prehistoric crocodiles here. I wonder what mystery could be behind this very rock we're passing. Who knows? We could be like 10 feet away from dinosaur birds that no human's ever seen. A snowflake swirls down onto the windshield. I watch it melt. You're crazy, Joel says, resting his chin on the back of my seat. How could a dinosaur turn into a bird? I sigh. This is hard to explain. The theory is that reptile scales sort of turned into quills, which eventually spread into feathers. Ludmilla says, I can't believe so much change could happen. That's genetics. It didn't happen overnight. It was after millions of years living in treetops and lots of generations, I say. A few more minutes go by, then Davis says, that Archaeopteryx thing is cool. I wonder if people could ever do that. Physically, evolve, I mean. To get wings? I ask. No, says Davis. In other ways, wouldn't it be cool if we evolved to be smarter and more peaceful, like our bodies were just not able to be violent? Ludmilla snorts loudly. That will never happen, she scoffs. In fact, sometimes I think we're evolving in the reverse. Too much insane fighting with the whole of this crazy human race. She glares straight ahead past the rock face and guns the engine a little too wildly. I close my eyes while my head and stomach lurch, and the engine keeps complaining, grinding hard as we head even farther, up and up and up. Switch back and switch back, switch back and switch back, until it feels like we're heading into everywhere and nowhere at once. And that's where we'll end today, everybody. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for chapter 22. Bye.